So,
we're with Tim Forshey. Tim Forshey is covering the three C's of concealed carry. The first, obviously, being concealed. The second is, what's the second C?
The second one would be common sense. So I snuck an S in there, but it still starts with a C. So yeah, common sense. And, and as I always say, my dad always told me common sense isn't very common. And the older I get, the more that seems to be true to my interpretation as well. But just there's an old, there's a gentleman named John Farnham. I don't know if anybody out there has ever had the wonderful episode of taking a class with John Farnham. He's amazing. And he's getting up there in years, and he's still teaching, but not as often. But we always call this Farnham's axiom. And Farnham's axiom is, don't do stupid stuff with stupid people in stupid places. And if you think about it, every time I got into trouble between the ages of about 14 and 24, I violated at least one of those three rules, if not all three, right? So don't do stupid stuff with stupid people in stupid places. You're 62 years old. Why are you at a strip joint at 2 a.m. getting into fistfights? I think you violated all three of those rules, right? So if you can just sort of follow that guideline, I think that makes a lot of sense in terms of keeping you out of trouble. Is just don't do those three things. And then the other part of common sense that I always tell people that, again, isn't common enough is take classes, get trained. A lot of people buy a gun and they figure out how to load it. They look at the owner's manual and they throw it in their glove box and they say, okay, by God, I'm ready now. I'm ready. If anybody tries to carjack me, they're going to get an eyeful. And man, that's dangerous. I would rather you be unarmed than very, very inappropriately armed like that. So please get trained. Jeff Smith once said that, buying a guitar does not make you a musician. And I think a lot of people think that they buy a gun that makes them a gunfighter. And man, is that not true? That's like, I buy boxing gloves, I'm ready to take on Mike Tyson. No, you're not. You've got the gloves he's got, and that's about it. So,
but how about it has to be a high percentage? It has to be a wildly high percentage of the people that purchase a firearm and just stick it in the nightstand and I am now protecting my castle.
I would say 80% or more have rarely, if ever, fired their gun. Yeah, they buy a gun, they maybe take it shooting once, then it goes in their nightstand or their glove box or the top dresser drawer. And they know they're armed and they know they're protected and they're good to go. And that's as far as it goes. Man, that is really dangerous. That is just like, I had one driving lesson when I was 16 years old, and now I can afford a car at age 58. I'm going to buy a car. Wow. I don't want to live in your neighborhood. Right. I mean, that's a scary thing. So yeah, get some training, find a qualified trainer. There's lots of them out there. Get a good trainer to teach you how to shoot, to teach you not just how to stand and shoot, but how to move and shoot, how to hit moving targets. Take some tactical classes, low light shooting classes. Nobody takes low light shooting classes. And when I'm teaching my CCW class, I'll have 50 people in my class and I'll say, how many of you ever fired your pistol in darkness? And one or two hands go up. And a lot of people think, well, that's no big deal. But you realize, according to FBI data, 80% of all self-defense shootings occur in low or no light. And it's amazing how different it is to shoot in the dark than it is to shoot in the daylight. We do a low light shooting class. And when we finally get around to shooting, we turn the lights off on the range for about 2 minutes so people's eyes can adjust. And then we say, okay, commence fire. And 8 people will fire one round, and about 3 of them set their gun down and back away and say, I don't know what just happened, but I think my gun blew up. Can you take a look at my gun? They've never seen that big giant ball of fire that comes out of their gun before, and they think something's weird. You've got to figure out your gear. You got to figure out the whole scenario. How do you hold a flashlight? How do you use a flashlight? If you're in a residential living room with white painted walls, and you illuminate 1,000 lumen flashlight, it's going to blind you and the bad guy. So you don't shine it at the wall. You bounce it off the ceiling or bounce it off the floor. Just some techniques that you need to learn. And they're fun to learn. The low light shooting classes are the funnest classes out there. But it's amazing how many people have zero experience with that. And that 4 out of 5 people, if you ever have to use your gun, it will be dark. So again, get training, get good, competent training, and then stay trained. And then from a lawyer's perspective, not only get the training, but document the fact that you got that training. Okay. If you get involved in a shooting 20 years from now, and you've got 5 3-ring binders showing me the 31 classes you've taken in the last 20 years, do you think the jury appreciates the time, money, and effort that you spent on training and being less likely to screw up? And the answer is they sure do. I've seen it firsthand. I've had jurors tell me that after trials. So common sense to me is don't do stupid stuff, get trained up, and be able to prove that you got trained up. I think if you can do those things, you're really, really a step ahead of the mob for sure.
I'm not one of the guys that held my hand up, Tim. I'm just not. I didn't take a low light. I didn't even think of it. Yeah. I didn't. Yeah. You know, I'm all about drilling and all that. Yeah. I didn't even think of it. I didn't even think
of it. They're not only are they really important, but they're a lot of fun. I mean, about 3 times a year, I shoot a match at night, and it's like every single time. The next morning, I'm on the internet buying gear. Oh, that broke, or that needs to be replaced, or that needs to be upgraded. Yeah, it's really eye opening. Sorry to use that pun. to shoot a match in low light in the dark, because we start the matches, like at 9 p.m. And wow, it's just a different world shooting a match in the darkness. Yeah. So, but really, it kind of keys you on some stuff. Yeah.